A bump in the road to recovery. The Federal Reserve confirming what an awful lot of Americans already knew, that the recovery isn't moving nearly fast enough. More than 14 million Americans are out of work, and many families are cutting back on spending just to keep up with their mortgages and other bills. Is there something to the argument that's being made in many ways by liberals and conservatives that we could be witnessing the collapse of the middle class? I'm joined now by radio talk show host and author Thom Hartmann. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I mean, you wrote about this a book a few years ago before this economic collapse.
Yes.
So is it truer now than ever?
It absolutely is, and in large part it's a consequence of the fact that we don't make things here anymore. The entire nation is becoming Steven Slater. The decline of manufacturing. When Reagan came into office, about 30% of our GDP was manufacturing jobs. Now it's about 10% or 11%.
What about all these clean jobs that we talk about?
Well, this was the great promise of the Clinton administration. Yes, you're going to lose your manufacturing jobs to Japan or Taiwan or South Korea and now China, but we're going to make them up with high-tech jobs. Now the high-tech jobs are going to India. So it's like, you know, any place. Here's the big stat that's really shocking. Everybody talks about the wonders of free trade. More than half of all trade, excluding oil, product trade, more than half of all product trade in and out of the United States is not actually with American companies and foreign companies. It's with American companies dealing with themselves. It's not actually trade. It's arbitrage of labor. It's sending labor offshore so it can be done more cheaply. And that's what's killing the middle class. You know,
it's interesting to me that one of the better economic stories over the last couple months is the comeback of Ford.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Middle America manufacturing, right?
Yes, and if the market had just been left alone, the whole laissez-faire notion, you know, leave it to the free market, et cetera, we would have no Ford and no Chrysler in all probability.
You know, let me ask you about Americans who do have jobs, because there's a lot of obviously unease out there. Even people who can't afford to pay their mortgages and their bills have stopped spending because they're worried about whether they're going to be able to keep their jobs and continue to pay their mortgages and bills. What do you hear from your listeners?
Oh, fear and panic.
Literally panic.
It is astounding the number of people who are calling in and saying, remember that middle class? That used to be me. I used to have that job. Now my wife and I, or my husband and I, are both working jobs at half that rate. Together we're almost making that, and both of us now are 1 or 2 or 3 paychecks loss away from being homeless.
As somebody who has studied this, do you see light at the end of the tunnel? Are we going to start feeling better about our economy in the near future, or is it further off?
I think to a large extent it depends on our trade policy. In 1793, Alexander Hamilton put forward a trade policy that we followed right up until the 1980s. We stopped. South Korea picked it up. China picked it up. They're literally cloning Hamilton's policy, trade policy. We abandoned it for this free trade thing. It's killing us. They're building. We need to wake up and have a national trade policy.
Thom Hartmann, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming.